Hi, and welcome to the U World Order Showcase podcast. Today we have with us Jane Masteller. Jane is an astrologer who uses astrology to empower individuals through their knowledge of who they are and their relationships with people and places around them. Welcome to the show, Jane. We're really happy to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here today.
So how did you get started in astrology?
Well, I always remember it was right after I had just finished college, and I was at a local bar having a nice time with a gentleman friend. And we ran into a woman, and she was a beautiful Native American woman. And she started telling myself and my gentleman friend things about myself that she could not have known other than she was utilizing astrology. And I don't remember anything she said, but I remember how I felt and I remember what I thought. And I thought to myself, how did she do that? I'm feeling so amazed and surprised right now. And I want to be able to do what she just did. So that started my journey. I went and got my first astrology book and have been immersed in it ever since. So that was over 20 years ago.
Wow. Astrology is so amazing. It can impact your life. Well, it doesn't really impact your life, but it really can help you construct your life. We were just talking before we came on the show about the technological challenges we're having, and you were mentioning that, yeah, not surprising today. So, how do you actually help people? I know you're loosely a coach in that using astrology really does help people make decisions about how their life is going and how they want to move forward in their life. How do you help them with it that way?
Sure. Well, I see the first step as becoming familiar with your own natal chart, your own birth chart, and
Mhm.
understanding the strengths and challenges that are inherent within yourself. And when you have an understanding of your natal chart, it makes you be so much more compassionate for yourself. It can bring up your self esteem. You realizing, yes, I have these gifts, I can do this. And it can help you become aware of your shadow side and some of the challenges that you're here to become stronger in this lifetime. So that's the first step. Learn about your natal chart. Then we can start to go deeper in talking about, well, so how are the transiting planets? How are they influencing you currently? Or how has your chart shifted over time? And how has that changed you psychologically? Or how have events changed for you? And also having an understanding of how your chart influences other people's charts with the compatibility and where the strengths and challenges are there. And then one of the things I'm most passionate about is astrocartography. And that's understanding where you are astrologically, and that there's different planetary lines in different areas of the United States and the whole world that influence you in different ways. And so you can have an understanding of where you are currently. And if that resonates with you, that's great. And if it's a more challenging place that you didn't realize it, then it's even just bringing the awareness to what the energy is that you're working with. So there's just so much empowering information in astrology. It really can demystify why things are happening, why we are the way we are and why our events are the way they are.
Yeah, I think it's not so much telling the future as allowing you to plan for the energy that's likely to be happening in your space. And it's people will say it's very woo, but it's really not. It's been happening for, as long as we can remember through history. People have used the stars for trying to plan things. There was a time when, eclipses were like horrible omens of something really terrible happening to your country. And I don't think they're so bad anymore. And maybe they really are. But it makes you aware of, the potential for what's could be happening in your space. at any given time. And it's not that it has to happen, or that, you know, this great thing's going to happen to you or this terrible thing's going to happen to you. It's not really like that. Whereas I think some people have that impression. Do you?
Well, the thing about when we're understanding astrology, certain planets and zodiac signs, they can symbolize multiple things or events that could happen. So, of course, the astrologer can list off some possibilities, but what is ideal is if you have your own understanding of astrology. So, when things are happening, you can look and say, oh, I see why that's happening, because this is represented, one of the keywords that's represented with this zodiac sign or this planet. So, there's a lot of things astrologers would have, they might be listing things off for quite a long time of all the possibilities, but it's really there's a lot of different possibilities in each one of those planets, each one of those zodiac signs. And for myself, what I like about it is that it just helps things flow easier for me than when I see like, oh, this certain energy is there. I'm going to work with it instead of feeling, discouraged about it or what have you. And I'll tell you an interesting thing about the eclipses that I've learned recently, since you mentioned it. And this is one of the things that I include in my my consultations, is that on the days of the eclipses, what it is recommended is that you lay pretty low. Those aren't really great days for going out and drinking excessively or being real rowdy, or even getting yourself worked up with challenging energy like road rage out when driving, because it's when the planets later, after that eclipse happened, when they transit over that degree that eclipse happened, it's called an eclipse trigger point. And that's when things can get activated in a stressful way. But if you stay within yourself and you're in a pretty peaceful energy, things may go quite well. And I've just recently had an experience where someone that I'm close to, they had a bad car accident, and they totaled their car. And I said, well, of course, I'm going to look and see what was going on astrologically for you. And I looked and I said, that was an eclipse trigger day for you. And it was very close within his own chart. And then I remembered that on that eclipse day, on one of the eclipse days, I'm not certain it was that exact one, but I think it's very suspicious, because I remember thinking to myself, he's getting very irritated and upset while he's driving, and it's an eclipse day. I said, please watch your energy. I know it might not be important to you, but it's important to me. We have to be peaceful on this day. So I said to him later, I said, I'm so sorry this happened, but now I'm glad that I can have confirmation that these eclipse trigger days are happening exactly as I was taught that they were. So the best thing you can do is not fear eclipses, but just put yourself in some great energy the day of, the day before, the day after, do meditative type of things, or just relaxing, peaceful things.
Yeah, that's really good advice. And who knew? There are a lot of little things like that, though, in astrology. And I know when I got my natal chart and had somebody help me understand it, it's really fascinating about, because I'm at the point I'm at in life, I can look back over all of these significant times. And you even shared with me a significant time 30 years ago for me. And it was a significant time. I don't really want to talk about it on the air, but there was an event that happened back then. But it's you can see how it really does influence your life, or can give you a little heads up about what's coming in your life. And I think the more that's confirmed about what happened in the past, the more open you are to accepting that, these are little, it's information. It's not good or bad. It's just information that you can use to format the rest of the decisions that you're making in your life.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I find can be valuable is for when we look at the astrocartography of the geographical areas, that in addition to myself giving information on where you currently are, I like to give information also on where were you born. And then if we're doing the full astrocartography reading, where were some previous places you resided before? Because that can give the person more ability to really understand how it was playing out. And similarly for transits and so forth, I like to say the last time this happened was around this time. Things happen in cycles. Think about what was happening at that time. So that is one of the good ways to understand how astrology is valid, is to be looking back and testing those things yourself, or thinking, oh, what was happening during the worst time of my life? Let's go see what was going on. And then you see, well, yeah, I can see why I had some challenges during that time. Or, I was real positive and happy and popular during this time period. What was going on there? So it's just a beautiful reflective experience to be utilizing. This is astronomy and math put together. This is logical stuff. It's not, astrologers aren't just doing intuitive things. We're working with numbers here, with aspects of how the planets are making, what kind of degree angles they're making with each other.
It's really interesting, and it's really kind of freeing when you look back at some things that may have happened and you're like, "Oh, man, that was awful," and you may be blaming yourself for it, but then you realize that, it's just part of the journey that you chose to take this time around.
And
And
that's part of why I always emphasize it gives you so much more compassion, and you could laugh at it. I tend to say it's amazing we're doing as well as we are with the things that we've been given, the challenges we've been given. And that really, I think, is important, because we are so hard on ourselves, and we don't understand. We're not like everyone else. And that's one of the most important things, is to not compare ourselves to other people. And one of the best things I've ever heard someone say was that the most important thing you can do in your whole life is become the most authentic version of yourself. And that's what is in your astrology chart. Sometimes we may not have the confidence to do something that we feel like is a little daring, but if you know what's in your astrology chart, you can say, well, I'm given permission because it's right there, and I'm doing it from an authentic perspective with good intentions putting forward.
yeah, it just, it gives you permission. It gives you permission to do stuff that maybe you wouldn't normally think that, oh, nah, I'm not going to try that. But then you look at your chart, and your chart's like, give it a go. It just kind of gives you a little boost of confidence. And it doesn't really even matter what the result is, so much as sometimes it just having the confidence to try something, because you never know what the result's going to be.
And the journey, because I always think, maybe take this step forward, and maybe it's not going to achieve the result you wanted, but you needed to take that step forward to get that next result that really is going to be on fire for you. So that's even how I see utilizing astrology sometimes. When I know that the transits aren't so great to do something, I think, well, I can't just not do anything for an extended period of time. I just have to make those steps forward to start to rule out the things that needed to get done before the ultimate goal can get accomplished.
Yeah. Yeah. And it gives you a little bit of a roadmap to, like, we're gonna turn here so we can avoid this. So how do you work with people? I imagine it's one-on-one. Do you do birth charts, and do you do that sort of stuff? Or
Yes.
what
So
sort of things do you do?
well, typically what we do is a Zoom consultation, and that is recorded. And I do all different types of readings. I do the natal birth chart reading. I do a relationship reading of you looking at your natal chart and talking about what your relationship capacities are there. There's the forecast reading, which is predictive, looking at the transits of how the current transiting planets are influencing you, as well as the progressions, how your chart has progressed over time with various techniques, and those eclipses that it can indicate change, and what days to be kind of careful on those. I call them eclipse trigger dates. Also, the astrocartography readings. I'm very passionate about those. I myself have moved to a better astrocartography location. I moved from Chicago over to Boise to seek better fortune, and I have never regretted it. And
So is Idaho a really good place to be?
well, for myself, it was one of the ones that was highlighted. So everyone's is different. The one caveat is you do need to know your exact birth time for the astrocartography readings. Other readings, birth times aren't always essential, but astrocartography, you need that exact birth time. And everyone's astrocartography is different. So it really depends on the individual. Another chart reading that I think is very important for people to understand, can give you very, very valuable information, is the synastry readings, where the astrologer looks at one person's chart and another person's chart and talks about the strengths and challenges between the two. So this, I think, can be very powerful in helping you understand what relationships or what's going on in your relationship. Now, if you understand you have a certain challenge, it's more likely that you're able to accept it instead of having a lot of anger or bitterness or sadness about it. And also, it can be helpful for you to be able to appreciate other people more. Well, yes, I have this challenge with them, but my astrologer says that this aspect is really fantastic. It's very powerful of helping people become closer, have more acceptance with each other, and even deciding if this is something that they want to continue with, or even initiate a relationship with that. So particularly with people who are doing online dating and so forth, that's a fun thing that I'm offering, is I call them relationship on call readings, where we can look at this potential partner's birth information and talk about what the potential is for their character to be, as well as how the mesh energy of the two charts mesh. So that, as well as I'm doing video subscriptions for the monthly forecast. So I do a full reading where we look at the whole year, but that's pretty intense. That's a lot of information. And I thought to myself, how could I make it so it's like more easy for people to remember? Myself, I'm able to remember because I'm immersed in it all the time, but how much do they really remember after that reading when I'm giving them those dates and so forth? So this was an idea of how to make it more manageable of information to process on a monthly basis.
Yeah, I like that idea. You might even go weekly, because I don't know about other people, but I can hold information for a very short amount of time, and then everything else like pushes it away.
Well, there's so much going on in the world nowadays. Everyone has so much on their plate. So like I say, it's amazing we do as well as we do.
It is. It really is. So I was going to ask you something. I just totally lost it. So you're going to be doing this cartography. Can you talk a little bit about the cartography?
So the
astrology,
yes.
What is that and how does it work?
So I learned about this years ago, when I got my first professional astrology reading. I think it was around in 2004, and I had never heard of it before. And a lot of people still haven't heard of it. And what it is it's telling you where the planetary lines are laying across the whole world. And so you can be having a Venus line, which can be good for harmony, relationships, feminine energy. That would be on the Venus line. Alternately, you can be on the Mars line, which can be good for masculine energy and for things that are exciting and things that maybe have an entrepreneurial nature. So there's different lines, and then there's different lines that kind of intersect with each other. So there's a lot of things that we look at just for that map. So in addition to trying to find what would be considered a somewhat of a harmonious line based on what you want to be experiencing, maybe for some people, the Mars line wouldn't be ideal, but for some other people, they may say, that's exactly where I want to go. I'm a professional athlete and I want to go train on the Mars line. Then the professional athlete should go to the Mars line, but they may want to be aware to try and minimize injuries, because the Mars line can promote injuries. But so what we do is we look at that map, we see where the lines are, but we don't just look at the map in isolation. We also want to look at the natal chart, because one person's Venus line can be experienced quite different than another person's. If another person's Venus in their own natal chart is got a lot of challenges to it, going to the Venus line is going to simply exasperate that. So it's this delicate balancing act of, okay, what planet is in the best shape in a person's natal chart? Does that align with the energies that they want to be working with? And educating them. Okay, so you've got a lot of positive aspects in your chart. This is a couple little stinkers to be aware of. But sometimes those stinkers, when I call them stinkers, because they're the more harsh aspects, when they're integrated properly, can be even more powerful. So a lot of times we have those harsh aspects, but they can really give you some bang for your buck. Those are the action-oriented aspects. So we're looking at all those different concepts when we're looking at the astrocartography. And personally, before I even moved out to the Venus line over here, I just happened to have had the opportunity where I had been traveling across the United States just for visiting friends and people and so forth. So then I was able to reflect upon, okay, well, what kind of experience did I have over in this area that's related to that energetic line? And I saw that it all aligned beautifully. So I think it's just the most fun. And you know what the greatest part about astrocartography is? One of the greatest parts is you don't even have to move to that area to reap the benefits. You can travel there and enjoy a vacation, or it's called remote activation. And you can just understand that you can utilize that energy just by being associated with the products or the people in that area. So for example, I have a real awesome line, Venus and Uranus, which would be dealing with relationships, and Uranus also Venus, and then astrology is Uranus. And that's where I'm a member of the astrology, the Tucson Astrology Guild. I came associated with there, and I can listen to their videos online, and I can learn all the different things and benefit from that energy without even being there. So this is great for knowing where to be investing in with your money, where to be buying your products, where to be going to school, doing online learning, and understanding the energy of the people that are going to be around there. So for example, I know in Russia that I have my sun line and my Jupiter line going through Russia. And I had a significant relationship with a Russian man. So it really can help you understand even what the nature of your relationship is just by things like that. It's just absolutely beautiful and fascinating.
Sounds like it. So these lines are different they exist in different realms for different people. Is it based on geography, or is it based on your birth chart, your natal chart?
It's based on your birth chart.
So what happens for ley lines for you, or these lines for you, would be different than for, say, me?
Absolutely. Yours would
Okay.
be completely different. Everyone's is completely different.
That's wow. I have never heard of that. It's
Mhm.
so fascinating.
Mhm.
I have to learn more. Consult with you.
Yes.
So you want to talk a little bit more about your monthly forecasting things and your relationships on call. I think that's
Yes.
really cool too.
Yes. So I'll talk a little bit first about the monthly video forecasting. So I have two different tiers. The first tier is we would be looking at the 7 most influential dates of the month. And then we'd be looking at those worst dates of the month, kind of like lay low or just kind of prepare mentally, trying. And then also just bonus must know dates that I say I can't limit myself just to top 7 for you. I want to also let you know that this is a good date for this and that and so forth. And the next tier would be the top 10 most influential dates of the month, the worst dates of the month as well. Bonus must know dates for such as business, traveling, or dating. And then this one has the additional insights into the weekends. and a survey sent out where you tell me what your question is, what you want to know about the upcoming month or two. And I do specific information regarding that for you. And this one is also really cool, is that you can know where the zodiac sign is throughout the whole month, so you know when the best time to be utilizing certain energies could be. So if, when we know that the moon is in Virgo, what sector of your horoscope is that lighting up, and how can you utilize that to your advantage, type of thing. So if it was in Virgo, great time to organize, clean, and make things better, that type of thing. And then finding out where is it exactly in your horoscope to tailor it more to you. So that's the forecast. But I'll tell you, I'm really excited about both of these, but I'm a kind of a historically boy crazy kind of person, into romance. It's not so much anymore now. I'm more into my business, but I can live vicariously through everyone else's romance. And so I have created something called relationship on call readings. And so that's when perhaps you are considering if you want to date someone, or you just want to know a little bit more about the person that you're already dating. And I take your information and their information and tell you what I see. I could tell you what it appears to be this person's character might be if you're considering going out with them. And because I will say, in the way that online dating works now, is it seems like there's a couple things ladies at least are doing. They are doing a background check, a criminal background check, and then maybe they'll do a face group post chat, check. What do you guys know about this? But I say the third check needs to be the esoteric check. That's the real background check, in my opinion, because we can really see the potential that this person may have with their character, and also how things could come together with you. Now, when I was doing online dating, I had a lot of practice, and I would see some kind of aspect that looked challenging and like a thumbs down, but I would say, oh, I'm just going to try it anyways. And it never did work out very well, but that was what was so cool, because I was able to learn, yeah, I don't really even want to date anyone who's Saturn, which deals with restriction, confinement, and seriousness and limitation, making a hard aspect to my Venus, which would deal with how I want to be experienced in a relationship. To me, that's like a deal breaker. So I want to share with people what I call it: deal breakers, red flags, relationship strengths, or marriage potential. So sharing with you what that all is, and knowing that, yes, we may all have some challenges. You're not going to ever find two charts that are going to be absolutely perfect for each other. And if they were, it would be incredibly boring. You wouldn't even be attracted to them, because we need those harsh aspects to be attracted. But there's some things that just maybe not so great over the long term, or it's at least great to at least educate yourself on and make sure that you're accepting of that. So that's doing the little synastry readings, and I can do them on video. We could do a Zoom. I can do a rush video for people who are really trying to do, curious. I want to know now, should I go out with this guy?
I need to know by Friday.
Yes, yeah, that's why I have the rush option. I know how I would be. So though that's the relationship on call reading. But then there's also other little things that I offer that are also real valuable as well. So we can look and see what's just even going on in your own chart with relationships. So that's really important. It's taking ownership of what your destiny is in this lifetime. So it's kind of, once again, just acceptance and kind of laughing at your destiny. Okay, this is what I've been granted. And I know that this is the higher and the lower energy vibes of this, and I want to be more aware that I'm attracting the higher vibes. So learning what's in your own chart about relationships, learning what's going on. Is it even a good time to be trying to seek out a relationship, or should you wait, lay low for a couple months, a couple years, work on yourself, and then wait for that more positive transit to put yourself out there? Now, this is another one that's real important that no one really talks about very much: best and worst age ranges. So if you have a chart, in your own chart, you have a slow moving planet influencing one of your personal planets that deals with relationships, like the sun, the Mars, Venus, the moon. Now, if you're dating within your own age range, that means that those other people most likely are going to have a similar aspect. And it's a challenging aspect that I'm referring to. So then you both have the same challenging aspect. And so it's either just at least educate yourself that that's going to become even more prevalent, possibly in the relationship, or tell yourself, you know what, I don't even know, I don't even know if I want to consider that, because it's such a challenge. This person has to be fantastic in every other way for me to even consider going out with them, and knowing exactly what that is. So you can choose to do whatever you want, but I think it's empowering to know, okay, if I go in this age range, this is some of the aspects I'm going to deal with. But what if I go 5 years higher, 5 years lower, 7 years higher, 7 years lower? Some people are cutting off their age ranges. They could be just missing some like nice little aspect that they might think, oh, I don't want to date someone 7 years older, but maybe that was when some of the nicer relationship synastry might start coming in. So those are some of the things that I think is valuable for people to be understanding. And even if you're not dating, this gives you insights to what's going on with you, with the coworkers at work. Like, why do all these 60-year-olds, why do I have such an amazing relationship with them? Or, alternately, the younger generation, I'm clashing with them. So just a lot of really valuable information that can just help make life easier and more fun. It's just more fun. I like to analyze things and understand things. I'm a curious person. So it's just it actually calms me to know, okay, well, this is why this is happening, or this is why I'm having this challenge. It's comforting.
Yeah. Both of my husbands have the same birthday. Which
Are you saying, were they born in the same year?
No, they weren't born in the
Okay.
same year, but they were born on
Okay.
the same day
Okay.
in different places. Like one was born in Ohio and one was born in California. But when he told me what his birthday was, my current husband was like, no, just no.
But just confirming, it was not the same year, correct?
It was not the same year.
Okay. So
One
mhm.
there's a 7-year difference
Okay.
between them,
Mhm.
which I think really made a huge difference in our relationship. Because I was married for
Mhm.
13 years to the first one and
Mhm.
28 to the second one. So
Oh my goodness.
it's
Well,
better the second time around.
yes, and they would have had the similarities of where their sun degree was, as well
Yeah.
as the numerology of that day. But particularly when you said 7 years difference, then we know that that particularly that Saturn is exactly a quarter of its revolution around. So, and other planets, of course, different as well. But yes, I can see how it can be jarring when you when I people I know very well, when they tell me their birth dates, I do a double take when I find out someone's born on the same day.
Yeah. Kind of interesting. So how can people get in touch with you?
Okay, so you can reach me at my website. It's my first and last name, janemasteller.com. I'm going to spell it. It's just old fashioned Jane name, Jane, and then Masteller is Masteller.com. And you can reach me through email at jane@janemasteller.com. On my website, there is a contact form, and you can reach me through that way as well.
Perfect. So what's the one thing you hope the audience takes away from this conversation, Jane?
The most important thing for you to remember is that astrology can help you. It can help you have more confidence in yourself. It can help you have more compassion for yourself and for others. It can help you utilize your time better, and it can help you save money because you're utilizing your time better. It can help you understand the best places to travel, relocation, as well as utilize the business services. So astrology should not be something that should be feared, thinking like, oh, I don't want to hear any bad news. Really, for astrology, it's about how do you take that information and empower yourself with it. So that's just really what I encourage people to do. And a great astrology book to start with, the first one that I got after I learned about astrology, was called, it's a silly name, it's called the only astrology book you'll ever need, by Martine. But I got many other books, of course, but that's a very comprehensive book. And I encourage you to start looking into your own chart, your full chart, not just your sun sign, your full chart. Get that one book on Amazon. You'll find out where your moon is, where your Venus is, where your Mars is, and then start looking at the most important people in your life and start to understand what's going on with them. So that's how I became into astrology. And that's how I've become much more content in my life and with my relationships and within myself. It's just beautiful. God made the planets. This is a gift from God for us to be able to utilize to help us be as productive people on this earth as possible.
Yeah, I couldn't say it better myself. Thank you so much for joining me. This has been interesting.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much for having me.